Listen, I'm easy to find. And listen, they can kiss my ass if they don't like it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Nathan back with another video presentation. This is episode 23, season 7, Big Nate Sports Talk. In this episode, we're just simply recapping the Mavs versus Suns, which was a great series, but a weird game 7.
So when are we gonna say something about it?
Well, I remember if I'm at, and I may be wrong. Correct me if I say and please correct me if I did not say this. But in my preview of the semifinals, I said that I could see a game 7 or 2, and this was one I did not expect that. I expected it, but I did not expect it to go out like that. I expected a very competitive game 7, and I saw one basketball team just look lifeless. After a 27-point lead victory in game 6 to force in game 7 to beat Phoenix by 33 points. At one point, they were down almost like 40-something points. That's mediocre. That was embarrassing. In the 7 games, Luka Doncic, who's killed this narrative, particularly he can't get out the first round, he killed that narrative. And Luka averaged 32, 9, and 7. I believe now he actually is now the third player with Oscar Robinson and Giannis to have 300 points, 100 rebounds, like 50 assists. Luka is on a mission. The Mavericks are on a mission. I really felt like I had questions about Dallas, but Jason Kidd, what the Mavericks have done this season, they've put that in this playoff series, they put it to rest. Phoenix winning 64 games, that is, you can't take anything away from them. But that was embarrassing to go out like that. I couldn't believe the stat between from game 3 to game 7, Phoenix was outscored by 59 points. And they lost the last 4 of those 5 games. There's a couple things that need to be addressed, and we're going to get into that. But first, I thought throughout this whole series, Dallas, on the defensive end of the ball, they pride themselves on defense. They are one of the best defensive teams. And I just want to point this out. On New Year's Eve, they were 17 and 18. And I was like, they're not going to make the playoffs. And then from then, they went 35 and 12 and didn't look back. Jason Kidd, we need to give him some love for what he's done with these group of guys. And then also, too, like, I felt like it was times where you had Jason Kidd on the floor watching him, especially in this playoff series. The Mavericks, man, defense wins championships, and they showed that. Another thing, my question going into this series was who was going to be the guy other than Luka to step up, and that happened to be former Washington Wizard Spencer Dinwiddie. Struggled his time in Washington. I'm one of those that sometimes you just don't fit on every team, and I think he just definitely had a hard time just trying to adjust. Come off ACL injury. And I definitely feel like a change of scenery was best for him. Like, he's definitely like the second or third option for Dallas. I mean, he averaged off the bench almost 12 points a game. I mean, he shot 51% from three, and then I mean, just unstoppable. Like, I think that's the key. I'm gonna say this now. That's going to be the key going against Golden State. Luka cannot do it by himself. That's why you need a Spencer Dinwiddie, a Bertans, a Phineas Smith. You need the others. That's why I don't understand why the others, I feel like, have kind of been downplayed. Like, superstars are expected to play at a certain level, but it's the others around you that have to play well, as well themselves. And then, like, Phoenix. I mean, there's some elephants in the room that need to be addressed. DeAndre Ayton, like, what's the off season moves for him? Is he going to stay? Is he going to move on? Now, I will say this: I feel like Chris Paul is going to come back. I don't like the fact that when they lose, you hear that they played through an injury. I don't like to see that. But you got to figure out what you're going to do with DeAndre Ayton. I think him only playing 17 minutes, and I didn't really like Monty Williams coming out and saying that's internal. That tells me that there was some other issue. There's something else that was going on there. Because that's my question, and I wish someone would have jumped up on that. What do you mean internal? So are we saying that? What's the issue? I think that needs to be. There's so many questions with that, and then I really feel like you can build around him and Devin Booker, but it's still championship material. I mean, it's still there. And then I think also too, now you got to look at Phoenix, their bench. I think you need to get somebody that can come off the bench and make plays. I feel like Cam Johnson and Cameron Payne, yes, are the two best options coming off their bench, but I couldn't find anybody in Game 7 to rely on. That really was disappointing. I mean, they need somebody that gives them energy. And nobody averaged 7 points. Hell, like JaVale McGee, I think had a good 5 points. So they're going to have to go out there and look for something. They're going to have to go out there and look for something to give them some spark plug energy off the bench. And I don't see that on their roster. I thought they could have gotten that this past offseason, but that wasn't addressed. And then, next thing you got to figure out is Chris Paul. He has 2 more years left on this deal, and he has an option for a 3rd year, if I remember that correctly. He'll be 40 when that contract is up. He said he's not going to retire. He said he wants to run it back. But let me just say this. And this is not with the Phoenix Suns. This is with sports in general. When you are a championship level team, particularly when you are at that point where you have tasted get into the World Series, Super Bowl, NBA championship. Once you've tasted that, there are going to be some guys that are going to be feeling themselves. Landry Shamet is going to be one. Michael Bridges is going to be another one. They're going to look for a payday. The Phoenix Suns, I believe, going into this next season, are going to be at the luxury tax. You need to take into account they're going to have to pay DeAndre Ayton. That's a lot. If this might sound crazy, if you're Phoenix, I would move on from Chris Paul. Like, because it's because you have to look at this. And also, too, you got to get Devin Booker in there as well to get the max contract. You can't pay everybody. And it's hard to make moves when you're top heavy. Look at the Brooklyn Nets, the Milwaukee Bucks. At some point, you're going to have to make business decisions that are going to, in the short term, hurt, but in the long term, keep your team competitive. Like, that's something that is going to have to be addressed. And the next, and like I said, continue on Devin Booker, you have to pay him. I mean, I definitely feel like he's definitely going to play with a chip on his shoulder. Yes. Did he have a bad game 7? Oh, yeah, he did. Was he healthy throughout the postseason? No, we don't know that. And I mean, there's things the Phoenix Suns have to do. But I do feel like if they do if I'm Phoenix, I would try to see if we can get some draft capital for Chris Paul. You still can get some value for him now. And I don't know. Like the Phoenix Suns, it's going to be an interesting offseason for them. And I mean, James Jones, I know that he was executive of the year, and I'm sure that they will do their job. But winning 64 games is great. But if I was on this team, I'm moving. I'm throwing furniture. I'm enraged because now you've got to figure out how to change your approach going into next season. Into the next season, like they are a great regular season team, but come the playoffs, you got to change it up. You have to change it up. So, and I know this is going to be painful to talk about. Not painful, excuse me. Patrick Beverley was on TV this morning. He was on Get Up, and then he was on First Take. I understood exactly what he was saying about Chris Paul. I don't understand why we're now kind of like downplaying the bubble. I mean, I get what he's saying. There has been slander on Chris Paul, but I could see where he was coming from. He wasn't talking like Paul George or others. Like Chris Paul doesn't get the slander like they get. And I do think again that you got to take consideration the media. You know, the media picks and chooses who they're going to go after. Like, yeah, Paul George, he did proclaim himself playoff P, and you can't. If you're having a bad playoff games, you can't be calling yourself playoff P. Like that's just being realistic. So I understood what he was saying. Patrick Beverley is one of my favorite basketball players, and he definitely. Oh my gosh, I could not believe I was like, wow, he's really going off. But yeah, I mean, what he said was not wrong. I understood where he was coming from, but I don't understand. I just was not in an agreement of, putting an asterisk on the bubble because, like, oh, you guys agreed to go down there and play. What's the difference? A championship's a championship. But y'all, let me know your thoughts. What do you think of the Phoenix Suns and Mavericks series? What do you think the Suns need to do? How do you feel about the Mavericks going into the Western Conference Finals against Golden State? But until then, I will see y'all in the next episode. Stay out.
Listen, I'm easy to find. And listen, they can kiss my ass if they don't like it.